Welcome to Untrapped Minds. I'm Mo Temple. Welcome to the very first episode. I would like to start this episode off with a shared moment of silence for any and everybody we lost, but especially this year, 2020. Peace. I'm not going to hold y'all. Let's get right into it. Let's start off with the title first. A self-journey towards spiritual intellect. Let's start off with the first part of that title. Self-journey. Self meaning that this is a solo mission. Due to this being a solo mission, it becomes personal to us. It becomes a personal journey towards spiritual intellect. Spiritual intellect only means being conscious and aware of the non-physical aspects about self. So materialistic things doesn't matter along this self journey. Our physical comforts don't apply, like our looks, how fly we can get, what we whipping in, what's in our bank accounts, our zip codes, where we stay at. None of that matters. What self is doing when it goes on this journey is an introspection on itself. And an introspection is the examination or observation of one's own mental and emotional processes. This self-inspection that we do on ourselves is no different than a car inspection when we get our tags renewed, right? The purpose for a car inspection is to ensure the safety while driving that vehicle. The purpose for a self-inspection is to ensure ourselves the safety while we out here creating our reality, right? Once we start paying attention to our own mental and emotional state of being, that becomes the intro to our journey, right? That's the beginning of our journey, the start of our journey. The start of our journey is when we begin to question ourselves and try to come up with the answers to the who, what, when, where, and why from a non-physical point of view. This journey is something we must mentally prepare for, because at times some truth we might not be mature enough to accept, right? And being mature doesn't have anything to do with your age. All is mine. All is mine. All is mine. All is mine. The mind is the headquarters for the entire body. Wherever the mind goes, the body shall follow. The spinal cord powers up the brain, and our neurotransmitters communicates with the entire body through the nervous system, which makes the body responsive. Over time, our bodies are automatically programmed to respond to certain people, places, and things based on trained thoughts. People, places, and things are considered to be nouns or common nouns. Once the mind is trained from engrams, which produce unconscious behavior that deals with the reactive and memory traits of the brain, it cripples one's vision, which makes it difficult or even impossible to see beyond this programming. An engram is a unit of cognitive information inside the brain, theorized to be the means by which memories are stored as biophysical or biochemical changes in the brain in response to external stimuli. An example of unconscious behavior due to engrams will be somebody being around another person for a long time, right? We might find ourselves talking like that person, or using a lingo, right? Or you might catch us certain body gestures that we do, or mannerisms like that person just from being around them, and we unconsciously do it. You know what I'm saying? That's due to engrams. Ever since we was a child, right? We've been collecting this data through learned behavior. This data has been stored through these engrams. Engrams is no different than hard drives on a computer. So these engrams is like hard drives in our minds. And what happened is we pull from these hard drives or from these engrams when we have to respond to nouns. people, places, and things. Engrams can create stages of emotional altitudes, especially from being on social media, because what's on social media? Nouns, right? People, places, and things. Being on social media, we can find ourselves going on an emotional roller coaster. We stroll through our phone, right? We'll watch some or see something that make us happy. Then we'll stroll and see something that make us sad. Then we stroll, then we find ourselves laughing, right? Then we stroll and we find ourselves angry. Stroll, watch somebody a relationship start, now we romanticizing. Or see somebody on vacation, now we romanticizing, right? Then we stroll, now we overjoyed by something. Then we stroll, now we see something that disgusts us, right? This is something you can do. People watch, just observe this. Just while you just sitting around, and observe somebody on their phone strolling through social media, right? You get all these different facial expressions, right? Just trip off of it. See somebody, they be smiling, and all of a sudden that smile just go to anger or confusion. Just they go through all these different emotions, just the facial expressions. So just trip off that. That's something to observe. Due to these different stages of emotional attitudes, what happens is we unconsciously catch these mysterious attitudes and then project that misery energy onto someone else. It's no different than a dedicated weed smoker, who didn't have their smoke for the day, right? They can get a little angry, right? They can be mad at times, right? You be like, man, you tripping, man. Go ahead, you need to go smoke something, man. You tripping, go smoke, right? And then when they smoke, be a whole different person, right? If I say the word cell phone, that's a thing, that's a noun, cell phone, right? So I use the noun cell phone. What type of image pop in your head? Hold that image. So if I put an adjective in front of a noun, like expensive cell phone, did that imagery change? What if I say cheap cell phone? Did the imagery change from expensive cell phone to cheap cell phone? Right? What is an expensive cell phone? Right? See, these engrams are perception driven, right? Which makes them debatable, right? That's the crazy thing about engrams. So if I say expensive cell phone, to somebody in a financial position to spend $1,500 on the cell phone, right? And I don't think that's expensive, right? Versus a person who in a financial disparity where they can't afford paying no $1,500 for a cell phone, right? So they be like, nah, you're a fool to pay $1,500 for a cell phone, right? Which both of them right. From the position they in financially, they both right. So it's debatable. It's perception driven. Neither one of them wrong. Two people can hear the same thing, but how they heard it was different. Or they could have saw the same thing, but how they viewed it was different. Our perception on how self should respond to certain people, places, and things is determined through our experiences, which our experiences come from our upbringing and our environments, right? The understanding that although we may cross paths due to similar experiences, everybody's journey in life will always be different. This generational curses that we have in our families will continue to exist if we don't reprogram these engrams. Vision is only for those who's trying to see. People who can't see are considered to be legally blind. A blind mind creates abnormal thoughts, which programs us towards abnormal behavior. And this is what we're witnessing today. The blind leading the blind, right? My purpose for creating this platform is to uplift as many individual awareness by provoking thought. And you provoke thought through logic, rational reasoning, and common sense. Logic, rational reasoning, and common sense collectively creates the intuition in a person. And the intuition in a person deals with your pineal gland, and your pineal gland activates your third eye, if y'all familiar with that. 2015, my nonprofit organization, Positive Chain of Change, was a part of this program called Rebuilding and Reuniting Our Community, right? That's why I rock these bracelets to this day. It got rebuilding and reuniting. And it was for rebuilding and reuniting our community. But community starts with self first. But being a part of this program totally reflected how so out of order our communities really are. The worst part about being out of order is not having the answers to why. When the why goes unnoticed, it allows the opportunity for destruction. What an individual don't understand, they don't have the means to control. The lack of control and understanding puts the mind and its thoughts in a state of chaos. One of the main reasons why our communities have gotten so out of order is because of the lack of discipline, right? As a child, I know I was taught, and I'm pretty sure some of y'all was taught, not to interrupt adult conversation, right? So as a child, I probably wanted some cereal, and when they're asking for cereal, interrupt adult conversation, and probably get popped in the mouth, right? For doing that. But this form of discipline taught the respect one should have for self and others, as well as my elders, right? But most importantly, it taught a child patience. That cereal ain't going nowhere. Taught me, be patient, right? See how these people driving out here today? Impatient. All on the side, right? Going in the middle lane just to get over. Impatient. Order takes the discipline of being patient. Whether we operating in the order of faith or out of fear, the discipline of being patient keeps us in control so oneself won't overreact. I came up with the self-entitlement vow. This vow will help self stay in order as well as restore value to self. When a person sees value in something, they tend to cherish it more and protect that. So if I can have y'all repeat after me, I am entitled of being heard. I am entitled of being respected. I am entitled of being happy. I am entitled of being loved. And through the demand of these entitlements, my life shall be at peace. Heard, respected, happy, loved. When a person feel like they being heard, right, they feel like they being respected. When a person feel like they being respected, most likely they are happy. And wherever there is happiness, there is love. Heard, respect, happy, love. Before we expect anybody to honor these self-entitlement vows, we must hold ourselves accountable for these demands first, right? So we got to make sure we are making ourselves heard first, right? We got to make sure we are respecting ourselves first, right? We got to make sure we are making ourselves happy first, right? We got to make sure we are loving ourselves first. We all share one thing in common, and that is we all trying to live life as comfortable as possible. When life becomes uncomfortable for us, the proper adjustments are necessary. Comfort perceives no worries of thought put forth, which becomes faith. Discomfort perceives the urgency of thought put forth, which becomes fear. The basic concept to living is applying comfort, faith to one's life, as well as eliminating discomfort, fear. Perception is the platform for marketing faith and fear. Manipulating perception with altered thought and therefore will play a serious role in our cognitive behavior through these engrams. Self-control Patience will master self to become self-master and ruin the ideal of being a slave to one's own thoughts. The only thing keeps a person from being their divine self is themselves. Our faith and our fear is what navigates our direction in life. Whoever controls the faith and fear controls the reaction. Mastering one's own faith and fear by having mutual respect for both will help on revealing what I like to call the invisible. Respect, support, and opportunity creates trust. When you respect something, you support it, or you don't have no problem supporting. Whatever you support, you have the opportunity to become a part of, and you will not become a part of nothing that you don't trust. In order to be other than invisible, it must be seen. Acknowledgement is being seen. Attention is being seen. Self must be constantly cautious of what type of attention it attracts and what type of acknowledgement it is seeking, right? The only two ways for self not to feel that it's invisible is through the validation of external stimuli from people, places, and things, or from self-validation. Self-validation takes the power away from these engrams, which programs us and have us out here looking crazy and behaving crazier, right? Most of the time, though, self will be more attracted to the validation of external stimuli simply because it's easier for self to point blame rather than to admit fault. Who wants to admit that they're wrong all the time, right? So it's easy to point blame. I get it. When we seek validation from external stimuli, we are putting ourselves at a higher risk of being used by people, places, and things. Everything we see isn't real, and everything we hear isn't true, just lies. Lies, and more lies, and what lies underneath those lies is truth. For truth would never need an alibi. Sometimes we won't see it or hear it, we would just feel it. The invisible is something we feel. The illusion is the distraction that keeps us from connecting with reality. The illusion creates confusion and causes chaos. The world is built on the illusion of status, which causes the division. What's your status? Black, white, Asian, Puerto Rican, Mexican. What's your status? Christian, Muslim, Hebrew, Jehovah's Witness. What's your status? Rich, poor, barely making it. What's your status? Gay, straight, bi, trans. What's your status? Division is the illusion of choice. Choices is as limited to one's options. The ability to recognize the invisible will terminate this illusion, but by doing this comes with the great responsibility, and that is changing our methods of thinking, which is a thought within itself. Exercising our mind will make it easier for us to work out our problems. So I ask, who's ready to work on crafting our thoughts to mastering our space? Being able to have the power to control, dictate, and manipulate space, right? Work their magic. That's what magicians do, right? Mastering our positive spaces of being happy and lovable, and mastering our negative spaces of being overwhelmed by trouble, worry, and pain. The journey ourselves had and will experience in life has personally been designed to matter. Rather it had mattered to us, do matter to us, or will matter to us. The good and bad experiences that we encounter matters. My then affects my now affects my when. The universal equation to solving any problem in life is time plus space equals matter. Say it with me. Time plus space equals matter. So throughout this lecture, I'm going to say time plus space, and I want y'all to say matter. Let's try it. Time plus space What's the matter? If you ever looking for what's the matter, we must revisit time and space. Matter will always have the reason why. That's what investigators do. They show up to the scene and revisit time and space and try to play that back. The why is the 25th letter in the alphabet. 2 plus 5 equals 7. 7, which is a spirit or spiritual number. Therefore, every time we attach the why to the matter, it has to do with it being spiritual. Although we experience it in the physical form through actions, the why stems from one's mental and emotional possessions, right? Hands don't steal things, right? The mind of a thief does, right? Guns don't kill people. The mental and emotional possessions of the beholder does. People will justify the why in order to benefit their point of view, especially in an argument. A good argument is done for clarity purposes only, not to prove a point. The one who is listening for clarity will always win the argument because they detach themselves away from emotions. Not only that, they also showed respect to a person's self-entitlement vow, right, of being heard. We make life difficult for ourselves. People make life difficult for ourselves. The system in place is designed to make life difficult for ourselves. We as a society has made life difficult for ourselves when life is so simple. Sometimes something so simple could be so deep, like a breath. On top of us, living life at the sound of time, in between space, that's right, matters. Breathing is something we do unconsciously for the most part, right? If I ask you how many breaths you took today, you wouldn't be able to tell, right? We is not tripping off breathing until breathing becomes a problem. The problem is never the problem. Let me say that again. That's important. The problem is never the problem. The fear within that problem creates the problem. Don't focus on the problem. The problem is the illusion. Focus on the fear. The fear is that invisible, right? Cat Williams, in one of his old specials, he had a joke that showed how you take the fear out the problem. And the joke has something to do with people being having fear that their light's gonna get cut off, right? And he was saying that if you smoke some weed, it's some stuff in weed that's called fuck it, right? And he said if you smoking some weed, you ain't gonna trip off them lights no more. But what he was saying, he was explaining how you can take the fear. You taking the fear out the problem.
And if you can just get that in your system, it could change your life. Some of y'all be crying about bills you can't pay. Just, I don't know what I'm going to do about this light bill. They want the whole thing. They don't want a piece of it, a deposit. Just hit the blunt one time and see if it don't change your perception of what's important in your life. You just, I don't know what I'm going to do about this life. Fuck them goddamn lights. I got 12 candles. I've been waiting to burn them bitches.
Fear is self-induced, which makes us responsible for it and capable of removing it. Most problems are preventable as well as corrective. Problems are something that we are going to encounter throughout our lifetime. Knowing how to deal with or to eliminate as many of those problems definitely matter. So we must become our reality, right? Live our reality, love our reality, as well as hate our reality, for we created our reality. Our habits is what contributes to one's comfort or discomfort of reality. Negative reactions creates discomfort. Positive reactions creates comfort. Although negative and positive reactions are both birthed from the intent of righteousness, and I say that because I never met a person who purposely tries to disappoint themselves. Problems are considered to be negative. Blessings are considered to be positive. But this too can be contradicted. Until we can see the positive within the negative and the negative within the positive, we will always be victim to this invisible. Let's study symbolism. Let's look at the negative sign. Stare at the negative sign for a couple seconds. Okay. Let's look at the positive sign. Stare at the positive sign for a couple seconds. Okay. Go back to the negative sign. What do the negative sign symbolize? Down, right? Minus, subtraction, take away, right? So when you thinking negative, you look like that. When you being negative, you look like that sign, right? Until we able to see the negative and the positive and the negative, like I said, we will always be victim to this invisible. So if you look at the positive sign, can you see the negative sign within that positive sign? And if it is, which one is it? The one that's going this way or the one that's going this way that look like the negative sign on the left? You would say the one that's standing straight up now, right? Okay. See, that's all life is about. Ups and downs. Ups and downs. So when you being positive, expect to be up and down, right? Because that's what life is, about ups and downs. When you being negative, you look like that. Down. Ain't no ups, right? You thinking like that? Negative thoughts, nothing gonna come good from that. You always gonna be down. But when you thinking positive, right? Expect to be down at times, expect to be up at times, right? That's life. It's a balance, right? It's a balance to this. This introspection will help with singling out these oppressed engrams that have us in the most uncomfortable situations due to our relationships we create when dealing with people, places, and things. We will also become mentally motivated from this introspection, which will give us the desire we need towards seeking our ways into evolving ourselves spiritually. Thank y'all for tuning in. Can you please subscribe, like, share, and comment? Hope y'all stay in tune to the next episode. Till that time, one love, salute, Mo.